Hey, welcome everyone to the SoCal Car Scene Podcast, the exclusive place for coverage of car culture in Southern California and the personalities that drive it. I'm your host, Dean Marash. Joining us today is Tony Principe, a principal of a car condo development called the Finish Line Auto Club that I can't wait to share with you. But before we get started, I need to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by our good friends at Ctek and Wicked Automotive Detailing. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the SoCal Car Scene, because you never want to miss an episode. Hey, let me take a few minutes and introduce you to our really special guest, Tony Principe. Tony's a principal and president of Westcord Commercial Real Estate Services and is a co-managing partner of T.R. Funding, a 35-year real estate veteran and a top producer specializing in office properties for Westcord. Tony has handled in excess of 8 million square feet of property and recorded over 4,000 sales and lease transactions, totaling in excess of $5 billion. Tony's also a co-managing partner of T.R. Funding, which has developed and rehabilitated over 50 properties throughout the LA, Ventura, and Orange County regions since 1994. One of their recent projects, which is where we're going to spend most of our time today, is the Finish Line Auto Club. And these are condos. And the third one was just completed last month, right here in good old Orange County, Costa Mesa to be in particular, adjacent to the John Wayne Airport, which we all know and love, so we don't have to go to that LA airport. The Finish Line Club has some very unique characteristics that include an area for hosting special events, gatherings, and a 2-story, 7,000 square foot clubhouse with a bar, fireplace, gaming tables, dining areas, and conference room, and a hell of a lot more. And I can't wait to be invited. I'm sure all of you want to be invited too. Absolutely. He's an avid car collector, and his collection has leaned heavy on Porsches, but he's also owned a few Ferraris, including a Dino, one of my favorites, and a few muscle cars like a 1966 Shelby. Hey, Tony, thanks for joining us here on the SoCal Car Scene.
Thank you for having me, Dean. Appreciate it.
All right, man.
Hey,
let's get rocking and rolling, man.
Right.
So, I'm running this car storage business over here. We cater to clientele that, have one too many or 5 too many, and they can't stop buying cars. So, we're part of their extended garage. But tell us about how a large development firm like yours, all of a sudden overnight, if you will, from my perspective, and that's probably not true, decides to invest in developing car condominiums.
Well, so it like a lot of businesses, it came out of necessity.
Right.
We both my dad and I have both been involved with cars and collecting for a long time. And I had at the time back in mid 2000s, I had my collection of cars that I was storing either at home or different places. And then I had a 45-foot motorhome with dirt bikes and toys and stuff like that. And I was having to put inside a shared warehouse space, a typical RV boat type storage facility. And I always felt like, every time I'd drop it off there, I'd hand the keys off. And I always felt like when I got it back, people had been in the motorhome and stuff like that going through. And I was like, wasn't my favorite thing to have just everything kind of spread out.
Right.
And I always thought I wanted to have a place where I could lock the doors, put my toys in there, fix up the space and do that type of thing. Right. An opportunity came up back then, and I wound up buying a 40,000 foot multi-tenant industrial park. Wow. With 28 spaces. And so thought, all right, we were able to clear it all out, remodel it, and just customize it to be, like nice, clean warehouses.
Right.
And my thought was, I'll take a couple units myself. My dad will take a unit, and then, the rest will sell up because we put a condo map on it so we could sell the units instead of renting. And I found that, for that, a lot of times people buy their space and they wind up like owning it or prefer owning it over leasing because they can fix it all up and not worry about the landlord raising their rent or taking it back if they've done such a nice job with it. So anyways, we got the construction all completed, moved into the spaces, put our toys in there, and wound up selling out about 85% of it to other car guys.
No kidding.
A lot of people we knew, some we didn't, and then, a small percentage of non-car related people. So I put a little car show together and a couple car events, and everybody loved it. And I thought, this really seems to have some legs to it. Maybe we need to be looking for some other opportunities. So not that long afterwards, I wound up buying 5 acres in Calabasas to develop into a collector car storage facility dedicated to that. Yep. Well, while I was going through the planning, which I'm still working on, 10 years later, another facility came up out in Westlake Village. It was about an 80,000 foot industrial building formerly occupied by Volkswagen. And so it just was the perfect facility. It was 5 acres, a great building, and it had the right bones to it for what I thought would be a good facility. So, what the original facility didn't have was it wasn't secured, it wasn't gated, there wasn't, cameras, security systems, things like that. There wasn't a clubhouse. And really, it was just an industrial park that we sold to car guys. So we launched Finish Line Auto Club at that time. And at the time, it was actually called Finish Line Auto Storage. And I'll tell you the transition that wound up happening. The first phase was the 80,000 foot building, is where we subdivided it into individual garages, punched in roll-up doors and put all separate electrical and plumbing and all those things so everybody could kind of customize their space. We put a great 2,000 foot clubhouse in for everybody to use. We put an outdoor patio that you can see on the website, but it's a great just outdoor space. And we sold it out pretty quickly. And one of the unique things is we deed restricted it just to car collectors. So we'd never have a non-car related business in the complex like the other one. Eventually, the original one we did now is 85% non-car people.
Wow.
And because it wasn't really intended for that. But these facilities, we felt it was important that they were deed restricted just to car collectors so they'd maintain that integrity. And as a result, what wound up happening is we filled up this building. We built a second building on the same site of about 25,000 feet. And we started doing big events sponsored by Porsche, by Ferrari, by Mercedes. And we, these events were more private invite only events versus just the general open, cars and copies you see where thousands of people showed up. And, Porsche would bring cars from the track and the factory and we get some real special stuff that was here that made the events even more unique. And really made them special was when we would have our open houses, everybody'd open up their garage doors. Nice. And you'd see these great collections that were complemented by all the art and memorabilia. And you get to see their cars in their environment, their private environment. And every collector's got different tastes for what they collect, why they collect it. And so, if you're involved in the car community, we've seen just about all the cars at different places and parking lots at Cars and Coffees, on the lawn at Pebble Beach, whatever it is, you see just the car. Here and at the various venues that we're doing and facilities we're doing, you get to see the car in its habitat, if you will, with all the artwork and the memorabilia and the photographs of when they were raced originally. Right. And it really is a fun scenario to see. And so as a result, we wound up changing the name after our first facility from Finish Line Auto Storage to Finish Line Auto Club because it became such a social place. People started hanging out. They started creating drives on a weekly basis. I'll come here on Tuesday or Wednesday and there'll be 10 or 12 cars parked out front and they're all having coffee in the clubhouse and then they go for a drive through the mountains. So it really has become a social place for people to hang out.
That's great. One of the things I was thinking about as you described how these customers are curating their condo, it almost sounds like the way the Peterson experience is. You go there and they do such a good job of putting the car in its element. If it's a 50s car, they put it in that era. They put together a 50s gas station. But if it's a race Ferrari, then obviously you'd like to have some Le Mans, racetrack behind it. So really sounds like they're doing a good job of putting these cars in the appropriate environment that kind of what people expect when they see a Porsche or a Ferrari or a classic car.
For sure. Peterson's done a great job. In fact, we're a big supporter of the Peterson Museum and we host an event here every year for them. They're fantastic. They really put a lot of time and effort into curating their exhibitions to really showcase the vehicles, as well as they can. Many of our owners at the different facilities, including Orange County and Westlake Village, they're actually putting cars in the Peterson Museum. They're asked to display their cars there for some periods of time. So, it's nice to be able to collaborate. It's funny once you plug into the car world, as I'm sure you know, all the doors that seem to open, the people you get to know that are so interesting. That's why I love it so much. It's just the people. I really enjoy the people.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we had Terry Cargus, executive director of the Peterson, on the show probably a couple months ago. Right. Right before they reopened, right? after they got the green light from LA County to reopen. What an amazing guy.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So such an integral part of the car scene, such a bright guy. But talk about somebody that's drove the redevelopment of that whole experience at the Peterson and just blown it up. And he was real proud of the way they navigated the COVID experience, because he said, hey, before that, maybe 15% of our viewership or participation membership was online. Now he said it's probably more like 80%. So he's saying the vast majority of the people that are participating now, thanks to COVID, are digital and online. And so, I don't know, just a great guy. I don't know if you've had a chance to spend some time with him, but
we have, as through the relationship, I've been a Peterson member for a long time, and through the relationship through Finish Line, as I mentioned, we do an annual event for the Checkered Flag group and the Peterson. Terry actually reached out to us, and Bruce Meyer was involved, obviously, reached out to us to see if during COVID they could actually do some garage tours of different owners' garages here at Finish Line for content for the museum.
Smart.
So we were able to put that together and help them out with that, which was great. And so we had, 2 or 3 garages that were opened up during that period of time, and they did nice recordings on it. People talk about their collections and stuff. So it was a fun experience. So we love to support them.
That's great. Hey, like you said, it's a collaborative environment, this car world we live in. Hey, we touched on a few differences, but what would you say the biggest difference between, say, a traditional concierge type car storage facility like mine, or some of the ones that are around the LA area, and the car condo? Just kind of high level, what would you say are the primary differences, or maybe what are the differences in the customers' desires or interests?
Right. They both serve a really important need, I think, in the car community, and LA is really the car capital of the world. So we love our cars here, but we also are limited in space. It's also a very expensive place to live, Southern California, especially the beach communities in LA. And so, you're lucky, regardless of what you spend, you might have a 2 to 4 car garage in these various communities. And by the time you put your daily drivers, and maybe kids' cars and bicycles and surfboards and things like that, there's not much room for a collector car to really go in there. And so what's happened is, I think it's really blown up the need for storage space. And so I think that the for rent, single car type or multi-car spaces that are out in the market, similar to what you've done, have really fulfilled a niche and a need. But what winds up happening is that once collectors start to continue to collect, you get the bug. You buy a particular model, and then you got to have the next one. You go to the Cars and Coffees or the different events or the rallies, and you find out, well, yeah, I've got this one, but I really want to get this one. Space becomes really a need. And so where we step in is where people start to outgrow the rental space, if you will, in those storage facilities. And they want to up maybe their social level. I don't say level, but their engagement with other collectors and people,
like-minded car enthusiasts. Yeah.
Right. And so, for much like for me, when I took my vehicles out of that type of storage environment, is that I wound up with a space that, one, I can own versus rent. So, you can do traditional financing on it. You get the depreciation write-offs and the appreciation in value of the property. You can customize it and fix it up how you want inside. And really no one can tell you can or can't, within reason. And I have ultimate control over my security of the things that are in here. And so, aside from all the levels of security that our facilities offer in the experience going from the street through the gates and all the other layers to get into the space, then each owner has its layers of security that are there, which are important for us. And I know, when I leave my vehicles or my things, they're going to be exactly that way when I get back. But, if I want to have a car delivered or picked up, or a detailer come take care of a car, I could be anywhere, and from remote, I can open up the security gates. I can look at the cameras, turn off alarms, open doors, maintain and kind of run everything remotely via our apps, which makes it nice. So really for a place like ours, car condos in general, is it's a country club for car people. And there's different stages of it. I've been in car condos that are more like self-storage,
Right.
metal buildings,
Yep.
and you show up and park your boat, your RV or your car,
Yeah.
metal walls on the inside. There's not much personality per se to them. They serve a purpose.
Right.
And then there's stuff like ours that are more of the private country club with the clubhouse and all the things that we put into these things to make them, really kind of a special place. And a lot of people spend more time here as a result of it.
Yeah, it sounds like the dream. I think everybody wants to do the man cave thing, and that was probably the rage for the last decade or two, and that's calmed down a little bit because I think, like you said, businesses like mine have served a very niche purpose in allowing people to expand their collections and help them manage their collections. But I don't think too many people get to experience the cave or the car cave because. You know what? Guess what? It still requires the approval of, some other people that might be in that house with you, say your wife, for example, or your partner. And
Right.
so it's never quite that easy. Then you've got city and all these other requirements. And so Laguna Beach probably wouldn't allow you to do much of anything. So I think it makes complete sense. And I'm glad we're learning more about this. And I hope all of our audience is appreciative as well. So tell us, you're in your own right now. So
Right.
tell us a little bit about where you are, which club this is.
So this is Finish Line Westlake Village.
Westlake.
So this was the first one that was basically built, and this space, mine's about just under 3,000 feet,
Nice.
and have some of my cars in it, and it's a fun space for me. I really enjoy it.
Looks like a lot of fun.
Now that what's that?
Looks like a lot of fun. You got a lot of fun toys back there.
Yeah, no, it's great. Sometimes, collecting cars, it's not always just about driving them. Sometimes it's just fun to see them and be around them and with the other collectors and stuff that are there. So yeah, this is my space, and I went more for the museum type space with the white ceilings and polished concrete floors and white walls and the artwork. The photography is I do photography as well, so these are my pieces that are in here. But other garages here have barreled ceilings and brick and modern designs and all kinds of interesting things. So every space has a different personalities and which really makes it fun.
Well, this must be a lot of fun for architects. You get to get in there and kind of bring the dream to life.
It is
around cars, right?
It's
a white space that you're kind of buying, right?
It is, so, you learn from each project. And so this being really the first one that was built for us, Orange County was the next, and Orange County was even a bigger facility. And we really stepped that up a number of notches. And so that building's about 80,000 feet. And then we'll add another about 25,000. So we'll have about 110,000, 115,000 feet when we're done. But we have a 7,000 foot 2-story clubhouse with bar and lounge and game tables and all kinds of stuff, wine cellar. And then the individual garages there have real high ceilings with second floor mezzanine. So people are putting lounges and bars and restrooms and showers and things inside there. But it was a really neat architectural space. One of the coolest parts about the building is it has a 300-foot interior driveway for part of the building, where I think about 20 of the 32 garages are on. And it's got 25-foot ceilings, a 300-foot skylight, and it's very industrial, but modern industrial design. And so talking about architects and designers, there's one of the architects that did the Peterson Museum is doing 3 or 4 garages there. There's almost barn type feels where people are putting wood floors and use brick. There's these really extremes now because people really want to make that space. I don't know that the term man cave anymore is relevant as much, but it's a cave. Yeah, it's a car cave.
Yeah, it's a car cave.
And but beyond even a car cave, I mean, what people are doing in there is just phenomenal. So it's really, architecturally, they're really fun spaces to play with. Like you said, they're kind of a whiteboard. and which makes it fun for these owners because they could come in and you could move right into it the way we deliver them, but most don't. Most kind of take it, run with it.
Well, that's fantastic. I want to take a moment right now and give a shout out to one of our sponsors. We've got two of these, so let me take a minute and thank them. Are you looking for a smarter way to charge your car's battery? Our friends at Ctek lead the way in the care and the maintenance of vehicle batteries. Ctek's unparalleled knowledge and continuous investment in innovation means they offer high quality, reliable chargers. They're effective and easy to use, and most importantly, safe for the user and their car's electric system. The quality of Ctek's products make them the trusted company of the world's most recognizable car brands. Get yours today at spartacharger.com and type in the code SoCal, all caps, at checkout and get a 10% discount on all Ctek products. And trust me, my two buildings, the 100 cars that we got here are being managed by those Ctek products, and they're lifesavers. So Tony, back to Costa Mesa in Orange County. For those people that are watching and listening, are any more spaces available? And when would be the next time to come check out that facility, if that's the case, to kick the tires and check out some of this amazing world that you guys have curated?
Right. So we just finished construction on that building about 3-4 weeks ago. We were under construction for about 15 months or so, kind of through the COVID period, if you will. We never really kicked off the marketing on it. Ironically, all of the sales of Westlake Village, Calabasas, and Orange County so far have all been organic, if you will. They've been because people have been to our events, right, and they see what it's all about, and they hear we're doing a new one. And so we're about 70% pre-sold on Orange County right now. I think we have 12 garages left that are available. So we just kicked off our marketing this last week.
Okay.
And the activity has been good, but we still have availability there. We've got a full-time general manager on site, Kenny, who comes from the hospitality world. You know, we wanted to make sure that the user experience for these owners, you know, they spend a lot of money to be there. And we want to make sure that their experience from the minute they drive onto the property is at a higher level than just going into a warehouse, right, you know, up the street and parking their cars. So we've got somebody, a day porter there that's taking care and cleaning the property 7 days a week. Our general manager's there to make sure that he takes care of anything related to the owner's needs. And so it's really a nice experience. So Kenny's there. And so if people wanted to stop by and see, you know, the facility, we can arrange tours of that. Great. We have events that take place. So all our events, it's very, very unique. We're not open to the public. If as you would imagine, these are all private garages and secured. But we do events throughout the year.
Good.
That are sponsored, as I mentioned, by some of the car manufacturers, auction companies, things like that, we do open up to the public. And generally those are invite only, but they could be in the, you know, the 300 to 500 type number of people and cars that generally will show up there. And so through the different car organizations, we notify them in advance of what those are. We don't generally advertise them because we don't want to be in a position like so many events have taken place, especially in Orange County with the Cars and Coffee, where several thousand people show up and it just blows up the event. And we're looking for more intimate, curated events that are boutique style versus just, you know, big, more is better.
Well, your business is like mine, right? You know, you can't cast a wide net. You're really out there with a rifle, and it's got to be highly targeted marketing. And I wish I was a CMO, because if I just got started a couple of weeks ago and I could take credit for the 70% that are already full or whatever, and then knock these others out in a couple of months and then talk about my return on investment, you know, I'll probably be the CEO before you know it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, it sounds like great, you know, your customers are so happy and the word of mouth is just killing it for you guys. What a great business. Congrats.
Well, it's a fun one. And like I said, I think like anything, like your business or mine, we're solving a need. You know, it's a niche need. I always have that in perspective of, you know, big issues, but the reality is we're fortunate and we live in a place where
It's possible.
Fluent people that have in this particular space cars and collection needs, and so we're just trying to fulfill those needs and create a unique experience. And I think the locations are important as to where we put them. And I think with this one on the John Wayne Airport is really a fun spot to watch the jets taking off because we're right on the runway.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
When we build the second phase, which we'll probably do this next year, we'll have a rooftop patio and bar so you can sit up there and watch the planes take off and stuff, which will be fun. So it's a neat experience.
Well, congrats on the success. So what's next in Finish Line? I imagine there's some other projects. Can you announce any of those that are future locations or?
The Calabasas one, as I mentioned, that was the first real purpose facility for Finish Line. Took 7 years to get approved through unincorporated LA County. And I've had plans in for a year to get a permit. We're planning on breaking ground on that later this year. Gotcha. And so we'll have that one up and running, within about 12 to 18 months from the time we start construction. Nice. There's been a lot of solid interest on that. We've been, Westlake, it took me 7 years to find this facility. Orange County, it just so happened to find 7 years to find that facility because we were tearing apart the market, looking at it. There's a lot of fundamentals that go into that secret sauce, if you will, to location, the building, and a lot of moving parts. And so we've been doing the same thing in a lot of other markets, and we've identified quite a few markets in Southern California as well as out of Southern California. My goal, I think, is to roll them out mostly in Southern California right now because we have some reciprocal rights for the owners. So if as an owner of Westlake, if I want to go down to Orange County and go use the bar and the bathroom and get invited to events, I can do that. Same with the people coming up. Maybe they're heading to Santa Barbara and they stop. So I envision, maybe having 10 or 12 of these, in the California area that these owners can kind of, reciprocate and, get to know each other and attend, various events. So that's really where the priority is right now in growth.
It sounds stupid, but the bathroom stop, I mean, that makes so much sense, right? Like you're driving the coast and you're trying to create this great experience. And then you're like, oh God, where do we go?
We stop and grab a bottle of water or coffee and rest for a little bit, hang out, right, and then move to the next one. And so, it's awesome. It sounds simple, but it really is kind of a nice feature for people.
It's also reminiscent, and I tell people this all the time, part of our success and anybody's success in the car storage business that I'm in, 90% of your success is probably a function of your building, your location, and making those wise decisions. And I'll tell you what, growth for me has been more challenging than the decision to go start the business.
Right.
Because I sit there and I think about, why are these fast food joints like In-N-Out Burger so damn fussy and so slow in growth? Because just like you said, they've got the secret sauce. They know exactly what it is. Right. And until you can, matriculate all of that together, you're just not going to go do one.
Right. And it's having the discipline too. Yeah. To know that if a site doesn't have those, to not go forward. We just kicked a deal out that we were under contract and had designed a facility for it. And ultimately we just weren't comfortable with the fundamentals of that market after diving into it to know that it would support, what we need to do. Because as you would imagine, trying to buy real estate, commercial real estate, especially industrial right now in Southern California today, is expensive. And then what we have to do to get the facilities ready for them is expensive. And you don't want to put that investment into a property and not have the support. And yours is the same way. So I would imagine, once you get a place up and running, they fill up relatively quickly, I would imagine. And,
I think, there's two scenarios that I've seen now. We've been doing this for almost 6 years now. And once you've got credibility in the market, and you have a name brand and you've got word of mouth, just like your business, you wind up backing way off on your marketing effort.
Right.
And, so fortunately you don't have to spend a lot of time. Most of the time we spend is being an active part of the community, whether it's, like a podcast like this, right, or getting out to car shows and contributing to social media and, having an Instagram channel and doing all those things. So I think our shift went from traditional marketing over to making sure we're an integral part of the car community. Right. I'd say it's a lot easier to fill up now if we went and started another facility in another location because of our brand, so brand and stewardship of that brand, I think, is so important in delivering on those expectations that you've communicated out to your customers, and your prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Sound like a marketing guy. I'm sorry. I am guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
guilty.
That was my background, obviously, with
right. Yeah, that's why I like you so much. Speaking the same language.
Yeah.
We'll get into analytics later. No, we won't. I'm kidding, people. We're not going to do that. Predictive analytics. We're not going to talk that stuff. That's pure marketing speak.
Right.
So hey, let's shift gear a little bit. I mean, I'm seeing some Porsches back there. I mean, you've got the addiction that we talked about, and you and I don't know if we're problem solvers or enablers or somewhere in the middle, but it looks like you've got the disease. What's in your car collection?
Well, right now it's mostly Porsches. I like you mentioned before, I've had a little bit of everything from Ferraris and Aston Martins and muscle cars and things like that. And I really enjoy a lot of different brands, but I think I got hooked on the Porsches a number of years ago. And most of them I had were more daily drivers but about 15 plus years ago, I had bought the Speedster. I have a 56 Speedster that I had always wanted. And that kind of kicked off that bug. And from there, I just, I like a lot of from the early Porsches, 50s, 60s, 70s. I've got a number of 70s Porsches all the way to modern, GT2 RS and stuff. I think Carrera GT, and I just love the cars. They're fun. They have a unique personality. And I think with any car you collect, when you get in it, you immediately feel like you're in that era when you're driving it.
Yeah.
So if I hop in the Speedster and take it up through Mulholland and the canyons here, you almost have that old school James Dean type feel as you're cruising in it, which is really, really fun. My wife and I have taken it out a number of times. She's got the scarf and we're going. And we did a
Marilyn Monroe or
we did a Speedster drive here. What the thing what's funny is you'd think a lot of egos in a facility like this, but you think you have a special car until you arrive at a place like this and you realize that like in the case of the Speedster, we decided to do a Speedster drive, and I think there were 9 or 10 Speedsters that were in the complex here that all did this drive, and we did the canyons and went to lunch, and it was really fun. But there's really a culmination of a lot of unique cars at this facility. But for me, right now, it's mostly Porsches, but I have some other stuff on order. Just picked up an old vintage motorcycle.
Nice.
A 62 BMW R27, which is kind of a cool bike. Cool. So it was fun. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
Hey, so one of the things I think in terms of, and I think it's true with the one customer of mine that's about to be a customer of yours, is that when I look at your collection, I think about the vastness or potentially the size of your collection. Is it still true that a lot of your customers probably have other cars elsewhere, that only certain cars are on display or in that condo of theirs, or do they rotate them, or what's fairly common there?
So that's a good point. It's really interesting that the collectors we have, and we have some that have garages here and in Orange County.
Right.
And they, they have separate, obviously, vehicles at each, but many of our collectors have much larger collections.
Right. I would think
50 up to 300 cars. I think our biggest collector has 300 cars. But there's a lot of guys with 100 or so cars. And you think, well, why are they buying a space here? Well, really, again, it goes back to the social end of it. I've had quite a few of them say to me, I could go show up at my 50,000 foot building with all these cars, and I'm standing in there, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's cool, and there's, these are great, but no one's here.
Yourself.
Right, I'm by myself, and whereas they show up at finish line, and a lot of their car buddies are there, and so what they're doing is they're actually bringing some of their better cars over there, and then they're rotating them. Right. Here at Westlake, as an example, there's drives that go on Tuesdays and another drive on Wednesdays. And every week they change the year or the make of what they're driving. So it could be 50s sports cars, or it could be 70s Porsche air-cooled Porsches, or it could be, Jaguars, or, or English cars. And so what winds up happening is people are moving cars in and out of their spaces based on what the drives are going to be and different things that are happening,
Oh, wow.
which is fun. It's a nice luxury to be able to do that. But that, I would say that's probably half the collectors, or maybe less, maybe 40% of the collectors have larger collections outside of Finish Line, but just want to be here and want to be part of this place. And, a lot of it's the events, because the events are really fun for them. We did a preview event at Costa Mesa about maybe a month, 5 weeks ago. We had, Dan Gurney's first Indy winning race car that was there. We had Porsche race cars that had won, and Ferrari race cars, and we had factory cars, and McLaren Speedtails, and LaFerrari Apertas, and vintage Jags, and like some really exceptional vehicles that were there. That just 250 GT Ferrari, stuff that you don't generally see because they're not even street legal cars.
Yeah.
That get trailered in, or they drive them up the street and they bring them here and display them. So that was a really fun experience to be able to do that. And I think that's one of the fun parts of being in a facility like this is when we put these events on. I really try to go out of my way to collaborate with some of the museums. Like next door, we're next door to the Lion Air Museum.
Yeah, it's a great
museum, which is great. Yeah. Phenomenal museum. And Mark Foster that runs it is just a classy guy, and he's always there to take care of everybody, and they put on great events. So just like the Peterson.
Yeah, what's really cool, Tony, you're bringing the museum experience to your customers. That's fantastic. They don't have to go anywhere.
Right. Exactly.
That's awesome. Hey, let me give a shout out to our other sponsor, Wicked Mobile Detailing. Wicked's a luxury mobile auto detailing, paint restoration, and paint protection business right here in sunny SoCal. They specialize in high-end paint protection, self-healing ceramic and graphene coatings, clear bra, and many other services. Check out their YouTube channel, Wicked Auto Detailing, and see their professionalism and their unbeatable customer service, which you can always expect from a Wicked Detail. Contact them at 617-901-1417 and give your car the devilish good looks it deserves. So, great to learn more about the, kind of the total experience. And that's really what it's all about. And that's how you differentiate yourself. And that's why customers are beating down a path to your door. So when you talk about curation, do you find that some of these customers are also focused on just, one brand like Porsches or Packards or Ferraris, and then they kind of design and architect their buildings around, one brand of car or maybe a certain era of car?
It's pretty eclectic.
Okay.
You'll find owners that, we have an owner here that is kind of the collects old vintage motorcycles and cars with patina and more one-off type stuff, is the one that wouldn't necessarily detail a car, just wants to have it, kind of the old leather jacket in it, and and the dirt and grit on it. Right. And others that are, meticulous vehicles that, they've never, I wouldn't say never get on the road, because all these cars, I would say most of these owners are driving their cars, but we have supercar collectors that just collect supercars, from Bugattis and Paganis and Koenigseggs and things like that, to real eclectic mixes of from Goings and vintage Ferraris to hot rods and muscle cars. So I would tend to say that most of the collectors that I've met at the facilities have an eclectic mix, but there's a theme. There's probably one or two brands that they tend to collect more of. And then there's some one-offs that they'll do. Yep. There's a handful of collectors here that just collect a brand. Right. And then they really take it from kind of the A to Z with that brand. Right. And then, yes, the decorating and design of their spaces tend to follow that brand. And not necessarily, to make it, if you're a Volkswagen guy, your space is all Volkswagen, but it's got a lot of cool German and European art and artwork and memorabilia and things like that go with it. So I would tend to say that most of the collectors have a pretty broad range of vehicles that they collect.
That sounds very similar to the, collection of cars that we manage. I mean, one of the things that over time I've seen our collection evolve. Our cars that are here, they've become more and more exotic.
Right.
They become more and more European over time. And I think what's happened is that a lot of people have migrated away from the muscle cars and some of the 60s and 70s and even 80s cars, because the performance can't be it's almost, you can't compare a modern Porsche 911 Turbo S to any muscle car from the 70s. It just doesn't matter if it's a 455 or a 442 or
Right.
you just can't get enough out of those designs. And so I think my customers like to have the muscle cars, but also like to have an AMG GTR as well, because there's days when they just want to really enjoy the pro touring aspect of some of these fine automobiles. But
As
at the
nice
same
as
time,
the old cars,
what's
yeah,
that?
as nice as the old cars are to have,
Yeah.
the experiences, especially the American muscle cars, they're tough. Like I'd bring my old Shelby home,
Yeah.
and my wife always knew because the whole garage would smell like gasoline, right? And then we'd go for a drive in the canyons. You'd get a workout steering it. Your back's all sweaty,
Yeah.
and you get done, and it's like, wow, that was a workout.
Yeah.
But you could pop in a 70s Porsche,
Yeah.
and just cruise, and it's effortless, and so it's not that one experience is better than the other,
Right.
but I think a lot of people today, it's so easy to get the new modern supercars and sports cars are so easy to drive, and the tools that they have, they make a marginal driver, appear to be a really good driver.
A lot better.
Or you could be a pretty good driver in an old muscle car and you're still not that great because of the steering and everything that goes there. So I think that there's a tendency today for a lot of people to, when they show up, same example, I went last week, we had a Cars and Coffee in Orange County. So I went to hop in, I have a 79 turbo and it was on a trickle charger. I don't know what the problem was, but it was dead, totally dead. So I hopped in the modern Porsche and drove down there, and it was like it fired right up, and I went down and it was a piece of cake, so there's something to be said about new versus the old.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the smells. I can after a long day when we, because we have so many cars under management, we're moving cars, 3 or 4 or 5, 6 cars are in and out a day, and we move a lot of cars. And I always tell what cars I move based on how my shirt smells.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's funny how that works.
Yeah. Funny how that works. Hey, so you mentioned some pretty bespoke cars like Koenigsegg and others that are stored at your facility. So security is such an integral part of what you do. I tell people what's most important to me is I need to sleep at night, and so do my customers. And I'm sure you feel the same way. So I met with Ben Hartel earlier this week, and what a great guy. And I think the name of his company is Elite Interactive, if I got it right.
Right.
So how critical is security for you and your customers? And, how's that different? You touched on that a little bit early, but I think it's an important component of what you guys are doing down there, because this is a huge trust business that you're in as much as anything else, right? When people's collections are over $1 million and up, there's a big trust component, isn't there?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, that was probably, I would say, top priority amongst most of the collectors here.
No kidding. Okay.
People that, we have one collector at one of our facilities that kept his collection on the East Coast, even though he moved back here, because he had not found a location that was suitable security wise for the value of that collection. Right. And until he came here, and he wound up moving it here. But for us, that's a top priority. I can't really share the details of our security, but I can tell you, as far as like Ben's company, which is great. I mean, they are virtual guarding, and we have dozens of cameras around, and they're motion censored, and we have security guards that are watching through those cameras to see if anybody's there, and they can call down and talk to them and have the police dispatched. We have relationships with the police department, and we have a lot of other layers of security here that are really important to giving people that comfort level. So that way, if there's an issue or somebody that's on site that doesn't belong here, it's addressed very quickly. And Yeah, that's
Well,
important.
plus you mentioned earlier, it needs to be flexible. It needs to be portable. You need to give access to a detailer that's going to detail your collection, say,
Right.
in your condo. And, you don't, maybe you're in a different part of the country, or it's not convenient for you to get down there. So it needs to be pretty robust, it sounds like, as well.
Absolutely. No, that's an important piece for us to flexibility, but reliability is a key component. And I think what all these owners really do expect to have.
Hey, so I'm really intrigued about these events, and even though I don't qualify because I don't, I'm really not a customer set, I'm still intrigued. Like, so you do ride and drives as well? Like, do you guys organize those, or how does that happen? Or is it pretty organic?
A lot of it's organic. So, we'll do 3 to 4 big events per year at each facility. And those are generally themed events. And then we'll do smaller events, wine tastings, and we're working on some things with watch companies and the auction companies. Will come and bring vehicles for auction previews and valuation day, things like that. The drives have become really organic. That we do them as well. So we'll quarterly, and now that we're getting through the COVID era period, we're going to get back to maybe monthly drives. So we'll organize a drive for the owners at a facility once a month. We'll meet here in the morning, coffee, donuts, whatever, and then we'll go do a drive and finish at lunch someplace. And we'll map that out. But what's happened is a lot of the owners here have gotten to become friends, and they'll invite friends from outside the facility, and they'll organize their own drives. And as a result, that's what our Tuesday and Wednesday drive group is here. Gotcha. It's already starting to formulate down in Orange County at the other facility. And so they'll kind of put that together. And I love to see that when I show up here and people are organizing events and there's drives happening. It's very frequent. I'll show up here and there'll be dozens of, exotics or classics or whatever it is that are here in the parking lot. And one of the owners is organizing a drive and a get together and a hangout on the patio or wherever. So I love seeing that because it's getting used.
Awesome.
And that's what's most important.
Yeah. So it's good to know that it's organic, and people are capitalizing on the social aspect of it and be able to use it as kind of a launch point or a gathering place or a place to depart from, or maybe to show up at, at the end of a drive, or, maybe in the middle of a drive. I mean, can you imagine if you, organize one of these things, you start at Westlake and you head on down to Orange County, and then, eventually you got one down south of here. So yeah, that would be a great day.
No, it really is. In fact, we've had a lot of car clubs who have, we do in a Ferrari event, and the Ferrari club will get a drive, and they'll go from one event to here to our next one. We actually had that where they came from Westlake with Orange County. Same with the other car club. So yeah, that's the goal, is to really fill in the calendar with some kind of neat experiences for people. And you don't have to plug into that. I mean, as an owner, you can keep your door closed and show up, drive your car in your garage, close your door, be a recluse. No one cares.
Turn on the music. Yeah.
But I found that some of the people that originally started off very private, didn't want to socialize with anybody, are right in the mix right now because they're having a good time. So I think everybody kind of lets their guard down when they come back here, which is fun.
Well, it just seems like it's like anything else, right? Like we can't get to those car shows because we're too busy, or we're like, oh God, I don't want to get up at 7:00. Guess what? You're down at your car condo, and there's one happening today, right? Right in your backyard.
It's almost a 7-day-a-week car show.
Right.
Is what ends up happening,
And then, you're busy putting together, Tony's busy putting together, the Peterson light, at your facility. And, next thing you know, it's like everything's coming to your door, which is fantastic, right? Like, I mean,
it's nice to have. We did last year, we did a launch of a car for Porsche. We did, there was a car company, or not a car company, it was a marketing firm that did a launch of all the new Lotus cars. So they brought them here, in Car and Driver and Road and Track and all the automobile magazine. They all came here to drive the cars. And so that was fun too, to see these new vehicles that haven't been seen yet to the public, and the car companies or magazines coming out to do that. So we want to do more of that as well, is, we want to start, curating or aligning ourselves with car companies and things to make some fun experiences. And those
are the chances
come to too.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What are the chances that in the future, with these premium properties that you develop, that there will be a racetrack as an integral part of the clubhouse experience?
Right.
Is that
I mean, that's always been a dream for me to do, is to put one of these on a track. Obviously in the LA area, that's a little challenging to do. And, Thermal's been very successful in what they've done out in the desert area.
Sure.
Those are bigger garages and that's out there a little ways. So, that's something I'd love to, do. Kind of the dream facility would be to take like the Orange County facility, put it on a track, add a restaurant to it, and
restaurant,
things like that. Some detail shops and, and garages, and that'd be fun.
I'm not a Porsche-aholic. I mean, I develop a deep appreciation for them because we care for so many of them, whether they're air-cooled or brand new, like we said, Turbo S's. We get a GT3 RS. We've got a GT2 2008 out there. We get a 400 RS. I mean, on and on and on. So I've learned to really appreciate them, but I can't say enough about the Porsche experience. As a non-Porsche file, if they're such a term, I went down there for one of those half days and I came out of there, wondering where I sign up to buy one. But
it's an amazing experience.
Yeah. What they've done with that property, and just, it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, they really were very smart in the way where they placed it. And it's just a great opportunity. And other manufacturers do that. But I think, you get to go there, even if you're not a Porsche person, you can go there and test drive. And I'm not going to say abuse, but I mean, you get to drive, out of those cars on, the slalom and straightaway and the road course. And, with the pro driver driving next to you, which I have a lot of respect and because I would scare the hell out of me to hop in a car with somebody that I don't know what their levels are and take it 100 miles an hour. But so they've got nerves of steel. But I think you get a real appreciation of how great those cars are, and you get done and it's like, literally, where do I sign up? How do I get one?
That's what I felt like.
And I know a lot of the car companies. I think BMW's got one out and at Thermal. I know Ferrari's there's a number of them that have done it around the country. And I think it's just a smart move.
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been a great world tour of your fascinating business and the Finish Line Auto Club and all that you and your companies are doing. And congratulations on your success, Tony.
It's appreciate awesome. It. And you as well. You've got a great business model, and it's really a great facility.
Well, we're looking forward to the future of Finish Line Condos. I'm going to have to get over there, and even though I may not be directly invited, I might work my way in.
You're invited
some way through the back door.
Yeah, I know. We'll have you over there. Come check it out and be a part of it.
I'd love to follow up and just see it. And then, who knows, maybe we get back on in another year or so when you're working on another property, and then I'll have gained some firsthand experience with, just the total experience at this incredible facility. So Tony, thanks again for your time today. I also want to thank those of you that have been watching us today or listening to us. And hey, please don't forget all of these episodes are on our YouTube channel, The SoCal Car Scene, all separate words, where you can see videos of our awesome guests like Tony. But remember, please watch, follow, and most importantly, subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you prefer to listen to this show, please go to all your favorite podcast platforms like Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, Google Play, and the SoCal Car Storage /SoCal Car Scene page. Thanks so much for listening and watching. And Tony, that's a wrap.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was good.